Welcome to another episode of Canopy Practice Success. I'm your host, Casey Brothers, and I am accompanied today by two lovely women, Deneen and Christine Triantos. Deneen is a recognized leader in the CAS space and the co-founder of Infinite Ties. These two ladies just started Infinite Ties about 6 months ago, which is really exciting. And we'll hear more about their journey there in just a second. Deneen is passionate about helping firms elevate their advisory offerings using AI and cloud tech. Previously a VP of growth at BotKeeper, Deneen has spent over a decade shaping the CAS movement. From her early work at CPA.com to launching national workshops and hosting her own podcast, On the Edge. That is a lot, Deneen.
Thank you, Casey. It's been 15 years that I've been helping firms build CAS, and it's been a journey. It's been fun.
I love it. And then you found Christine through your experience previously at CPA.com and your CAS offerings or CAS trainings there. Christine is a practitioner. She's a CAS pioneer with over 25 years of experience building outsourced accounting teams inside public accounting firms. Founder of Infinite Advisor, co-founder with Deneen of Infinite Ties. Before launching her own firm, she led the national CAS tech team at BDO and served as West Regional CAS partner. Christine is a trusted facilitator for CPA.com's CAS workshops and a respected voice in the profession. Ladies, it's so good to be on the podcast with you.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here. We always say, early adopter is, we just failed a lot.
Man, are you familiar with the user adoption curve?
Yes.
That is the first one on that curve. Or no, actually, it might be innovator is the farthest left.
Yep.
Then early adopter.
Right.
And then I think it's early majority. I think about that curve a lot in marketing and who I'm speaking to, who in our buyers are on that curve. And because there's this willingness to risk or be like, okay, well, I have some level of understanding, but I still want to try this thing, or I see opportunity there. And it is a completely different personality, I feel like, to be able to be an early adopter and to be on the cutting edge of movements and
especially in this CAS space too,
Yeah.
because when we were early adopters, and it's still like that even today, but it's like we always say, you feel like you're on an island because everything really is developed, designed around audit and tax. And so insert CAS, and as an early adopter, I didn't, there just wasn't a lot to reference. And so that's why we did have to test and fail and test and succeed and test and fail. But we still find that. I mean, Deneen and I talk about that a lot, that, the CAS teams still kind of feel like they are a little bit on an island.
paving their own path.
Yeah, bring that together. But it's growing. The community's growing. It's fun. Everybody, it's a nice little national family that we have within the CAS community. We all travel, everyone's at the same conferences. And so it makes it nice.
Yeah.
Well, and I used to be looking for those innovators, the people that it doesn't have to be perfect, but they're going to push, try, mistake, fail, win. It was really hard to find those early adopters because firms tend to be risk averse.
Yes.
And when they have the kind of follow the herd mentality, like we're going to wait to see how everybody does it. And once somebody figures it out, then we'll follow. I think the good thing with CAS, though, in this community, people are so willing to share. And I've never seen that in any other type of, profession. Like I always say, Nike doesn't talk to Adidas or Reebok, right? They don't share the tools that they're using, right?
Trade secrets.
Yeah. There's not much secrets. But in CAS, people are struggling so much at trying to build something that they are willing to share with each other. And what I've loved about working with Christine is she's like one of the only people I've seen really be willing to talk about her failures. Because when you talk to a lot of CAS leaders and you hear the CAS leaders, they talk about all their successes. But it's very rare to have them share sort of the pains that they've had along the journey. And I jokingly say misery loves company. But in this CAS space, people it's frustrating. It's hard. There's lots of pieces to the CAS puzzle. It's not just one piece. And so, being able to talk through all those pieces together, it's been fun being a part of that.
Heard this quote. It's an old quote. It's a Michael Jordan quote, but I heard it recently. Some people want it to happen. Some people wish it would happen. Others make it happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the trend I've seen, at least with people who have gotten into CAS and really refined it and found the way to make it work, because there hasn't been a ton of support around it. There's not a lot of definition, not a lot of guidance, there's no playbook. Here, copy, paste, and you'll have a successful, profitable CAS firm. There are so many options. And I think, tell me if this is what you're seeing, but where my brain went with that of like the sharing, but also like the not being afraid to be vulnerable and share your failings too. I feel like the reason you might be seeing that in CAS is because these are the people who, to your point, Christine, about being an early adopter and the personality traits that come with that. I think early adopters are also see it as just an ocean full of fish with more fish than they can catch. So it's like, why would I be worried? Especially with the techniques you tend to see in CAS, where it's not what's that mindset? A scarcity mindset. It really is a growth mindset because they also are incorporating marketing strategies that I am so familiar, like identifying an ideal client profile and limiting yourself and being choosy in a sense because you know who you like to work with, and it enables you to be more of an advisor because you can have more specific knowledge.
Right. And and to your point, Casey, I mean, we've been working a lot with firms on exactly building that playbook because it's like you find firms have this aspect and this piece and that piece of the puzzle, but it's really taking it and memorializing it into something tangible, where firms are acquiring other firms and what can they follow and what can they do and kind of what's a really good plug and play, which includes that ICP, that ideal client profile. And we work a lot with firms to just say, let's define that because these are your barriers to entry. These are, it's not just, oh, we want to go after this revenue stream within this client base. And it even goes beyond even the industry niches. And it's really about, what types of clients do we want? Because like we talked about, I mean, in the CAS space, from a service standpoint, you're working with these clients every week, every month. It's not just quarterly, annually, right? So that ICP is really important to really identify how you want to build your client base. And it's not even just like attributes of, we're not going to handle cash for you, but it's, the respect, the, professionalism. It's all of those things that you're protecting your team as well. And so there's just so many facets and aspects to that. And so I love that you say that because it's, it's hard for firms to just capture all of those pieces as you're building.
Well, and what
Yeah.
I always think about is there's a supply and demand thing happening on the CAS side. I mean, there's more businesses than bookkeepers. So there's a shortage of bookkeepers. So CAS bookkeeping is part of CAS. There's definitely a shortage of advisories. We call it now client advisory services. And that's what clients are hungry for. They are
Yes.
hungry for the business advice. And there's a shortage of people that will work with them to give them that weekly, monthly business advice, looking at the trends and talking to them about the growth that they want for their business. And so we tell firms building CAS to say no a lot. It's
Yeah.
okay to say no a lot. Say no to the wrong type of client that's going to drain you. That's not going to give you the margins that you want, maybe not the niche that you want. It's okay to say no. The more no's you say, actually, the more profitable you are. That's very hard for them because they tend to be generalists. And they also are being told by their tax partner, do this for me. Do this. I want you to do the books for this client. Well, you can say no to that tax partner if it's not the right type of client, which is not easy to do. We understand that. We're not saying it's easy to say
Yeah.
no to the tax partner. To your point, though, there's so much business out there to be had, and clients pay. They will pay, maybe not for payroll, but they will pay for the CAS advisory services.
To that point, I wonder what your recommendation is here, if it's more formal or just a little bit more organic. Because again, CAS can be a department within a firm. You don't have to have a sole only CAS firm with no other offerings. And in that regard, you've got people doing all of the accounting work that act as inputs, data that help you understand, okay, well, what can I advise on?
Right.
How do you recommend the firm structure responsibilities, roles, teammates to deliver CAS services to a client or an existing client, a net new client? Do you have a recommendation?
What we find that works the best and well is when you're structured in teams, even within just like a CAS department, where the managers have full oversight over specific team members. So they're not getting pulled like the typical audit tax, right? It's like I report to like 10 different partners and I have all of these priorities and which one do I do first? And so they're able to really manage their team, but also they're really able to niche and become experts within, certain business lines. So you're like, that's a not for profit. That's this team. Oh, this is, restaurants. That's this team. Right. And so you really start to hone in and upskill the team that way. And the other thing too is, when you have the team, the way that we designed it, where it was every single member of each team was always on every client call, because they need to hear that conversation. They need to hear the trusted advisor conversation. They need it just over and over, year after year, right? So that they're upskilling and learning that language and learning what, the leaders are pulling out as topics for each of their clients.
The other thing that we do recommend though, because initially we started seeing, being part of the tax team, the CAS team, and that causes friction during tax season. And so if you're truly building a successful, profitable CAS practice, and I would say the successful CAS teams are charging about $3,000 to $8,000 a month for their CAS services, sometimes $10,000 a month. I mean, I've seen up to $15,000 a month, but I would say the range is $3,000 to $8,000 a month that I was hearing through the years. And so during tax season, you can't take your team away from that monthly revenue for 3 months, because then your moneymaker, your monthly recurring revenue, 12 months out of the year moneymaker, is taking a hit, and they're going running over to do a $2,000 tax return. And so the bookkeepers were getting stressed. I mean, they were quitting because you can't do two jobs.
Yes.
And so what we started to see organically happening is separating those teams and saying, hey, you've got after that clients, you've got write-up clients, great, keep that talent with the tax team. Your CAS team needs to be on point 5 days out of the week from 9 to 5, because if you are value pricing, you are telling your clients to call you. And they're calling you every single day, every single week, and you need to be on point 12 months out of the year.
We always say like every client doesn't fit into CAS and every team member doesn't necessarily need to fit into CAS. The way that it worked really well as a practitioner for us was we bifurcated and we left, we had some team members that stayed in tax and they did, because there's the write-up services, which are for the, core purpose of the tax return. And then there's like true CAS, which is like client advisory, monthly, weekly services. That's totally different. But, when the tax team would say, hey, we have all this cleanup work, or it was quarterly, or it was year end, we had full books of business and we didn't have the capacity to just take on all that cleanup work, randomly, in addition to what we already had on board. So we bifurcated that, and that worked out really well for us.
How did you make sure that there was good knowledge transfer too then?
From the client or between teams?
Between teams, how do you ensure that the knowledge transfer happens so that though they are not performing, doing two or three jobs, that they're still able to adequately and confidently advise?
Right. We always just recommend having CAS teams really connect with specific CAS teams, and whether it's within a niche or just in general, because then that advisory between the tax planning, the CAS teams, like you're actually coming together on behalf of the client and then presenting to the client as a unified, and so when within the CAS team, everything. So, I mean,
So
and
when you're saying the CAS team, you're saying there's bookkeepers, okay. I think I
well,
was
the tax team's separate though, right?
okay.
Like you have the tax planners, right? But within the CAS team, you have staff, senior manager, partner within, like specific teams,
Performing what tasks?
from day to day, month end close, all the way up to the advisor, CFO, trusted advisor.
And then how do
Then
you designate sorry, I have so many questions. How do you
No,
designate who does what then in those
It really is a standard within firms as
Okay.
to what role, right? So a senior role versus a manager role, who's doing the work, who's reviewing the work, and then who's coming in as that trusted advisor. So it really goes by roles within firms. But to be honest, a lot of that's shifting and changing with technology,
Yeah.
with offshoring. A lot of that staff level work is being either done with tech or being offshored and pushed offshore. There's a lot of changes happening in the industry right now within accounting firms too, but really that's allowing those staff to upskill to the senior levels too, and also the staff and seniors are loving this like whole tech adoption, right? So it's
Mhm.
allowing them to become tech champions on certain products. And so, when you have that cohesive team, it works really well. But again, to your question, it's, that from staff all the way up to the advisor within the CAS team, they should all be on the calls with the clients because that's just education, that's learning, that's upskilling. And your client feels like they have a really
Yeah.
strong, dedicated team.
And just to double down and kind of clarify what Christine is saying is we do talk to some cast teams who don't want to do the day-to-day work and they just want to do the advisory work. They just want to do controllership and CFO services. And I push back and say, I think that's a mistake. Because if the cast team, if the cast practice allows the client to keep messy books and then they're coming in every month to advise, they're giving controllership and CFO advice on bad data. And so I say you need to take it all over. You need to put it on your people. You need to put it on your processes. You need to put it on your tech. And so you need to assess how they're doing it now. They're coming to you because it's broken. And you say, okay, we're going to fix, we're not going to take on your mistakes. We need to fix, clean up your books, put you on our tech, put you on our process, and put you on our team so that we can keep clean monthly records for you. And then we're going to be able to do the controllership and CFO advisory services. And so I think the team needs to do it all. And when I talk to firms and cast teams say, oh, no, we don't want to do payroll. We don't want to do the mill payment. We don't want to do the day-to-day. We just want to build out the CFO and the services. Say, well, how much of your time are you cleaning up the books? Like, oh, so much of our time is cleaning up the books. I'm like, well, then you're not getting to the good stuff. You're paying for a CFO to clean up books to be able to advise. And I've had lots of people call me years later and be like, Deneen, you're right. I didn't think I had to do that in my CAS side, but you're right. That's the team that Christine is talking about. But what she's saying is automate it as much as possible and implement your tech stack that you approve of, that your team knows. So there's process for your team so that you can make sure that the data is accurate to get to that advisory service.
I would just add to that because Casey, it's like when you're doing all of the tech and the offshore and all of the efficiencies, that's where the pricing comes in, right? Because that doesn't work under an hourly model, right? That really only works under a fixed fee model. And so like all of these tangents and rabbit holes that you go down like that just leads to
Yeah.
pricing.
I'm glad you put in a plug for pricing. Both were talking about tech stack too, though, and refining things, gaining efficiencies here and there. AI, if it's going to do anything to the accounting market, it's going to force people into advisory. You have people who are currently already in the industry who have accounting expertise, certifications, knowledge, experience, who are now going to be forced into advisory because AI is going to be able to do a lot of the actual work. That is not to say that you shouldn't check it, right? But you
Right.
have the expertise to check it. The
Right.
other thing it's going to do is make it difficult for new talent to gain that expertise because it is going to it's going to offload so much of it that they might have to. I really truly wonder if firms will just make new talent do it manually anyway to gain the muscle memory, the ability to see and discern, is this an accurate month-end close or whatever it may be?
We'll see. I think we'll see. Because the way I think about this is one day there's going to be driverless cars. You know how to drive. I know how to drive. My daughter will know how to drive. But
Mm,
probably there'll be a driverless car happening in her lifespan. So
uh-huh.
her kids might not know how to drive. And they might not ever need to know how to drive because I think there's going to be, you book a car, it pulls up, you get out, then it takes you to your destination. If that car breaks down, another car's going to pull up, you get into that one, it takes you to your destination. So I foresee never needing to know how to drive a car. So I say it depends. For
Mm,
now, yes. I do think AI is going to start automating the job and it's going to cause an issue with the learning curve and understanding. But I think we're going to see, and what we're seeing, and this comes from the World Economics Forum, is that AI is going to replace, and don't quote me on this, the numbers like 700,000 jobs. It's going to replace 700,000 jobs. And they listed clerks as number one, but bookkeepers and payroll clerks is number three. So the accounting side is getting hit that, as a top three of the jobs that are going to be replaced. However, the research always shows that 950,000 jobs are going to be created. And so it's changing the way the work is done, but it's going to, I think, move us into really exciting stuff. Well, we're
yeah.
not going to be bogged down doing all the manual stuff, and we're going to be able to freed up to create.
Yeah.
To Casey's point, though, it's AI is forcing the relationships,
Yes.
right? And so AI should never replace relationships. Let it do all of the analysis. Now, as advisors, do you know how to tell that story? And do you know how to take that and give that to them in a proactive, forward thinking planning for their businesses? That's what AI should never replace, is that relationship piece.
100%. I keep on saying that AI can't do two things. It can't build relationships and it can't critically think.
Right.
I do think we are on the cusp of, and I don't feel like I've seen it coined yet. Well, the Industrial Revolution shifted things drastically, and to your point, got rid of jobs, but created new ones. And I don't feel like I've seen headlines coin this as an revolution yet, but I think it is.
Yeah, I've seen some thinking on that, and I would agree. I think it's just the shift in how the work is done, and it is major. I mean, there's no nobody disagrees that it's here to stay. But I always, I worked in the AICP for years, and I've seen Barry Mollison talk a lot. And I would say for the last 10 years, he's been screaming at the profession every chance he could to say, move into advisory for tax, move into advisory for audit, move into advisory and accounting, like make the move. And people, they struggle with making that change. And so while he's been screaming it at us, and Bill Reeb, who also speaks a lot at conferences, has said the tech is going to move the profession into a place that they love because they love their clients and they love that client relationship and they want to help their businesses. They went into this profession, yes, because they like numbers, but they also want to help businesses.
I actually just had a really big aha as you were saying that. Because again, I hear that all the time too. Accountants love their clients, love serving them, love helping them grow, improve, solve their problems. The Industrial Revolution, right? How many hours a day were people working and in dangerous circumstances? Quality of life drastically improved. I want to double down on this because I just feel like it's so easy to get negative with AI right now. I really think that AI is only going to improve our quality of life and could even shorten our workdays because AI is taking all of those mundane, menial tasks off our plates. And let's be real, I don't think that our brains have that much more capacity for deep thinking. I think our days will end up getting shorter as a result. We will just do maybe just a little bit more deep thinking because you'll get tired, but you'll be able to get to the deep thinking faster. And I think we will all gain so much more satisfaction too, because we'll be able to feel the productivity and the impact we're making more immediately because we won't be bogged down by data entry, by reconciliation.
I
Yeah,
like how you think.
I agree. And I love this AI topic because I think it's overly used and people are kind of sick of the words. But I also think that we need to start to think of AI a little bit differently, especially in the CAS space too, is because I think that in my head, there's at least two buckets and there's probably more. One bucket of AI is, it's everything that's built into GL platforms. It's in Zero Intuit products. It's trying to say we think we know where this should go, right? And we think where we should know this should be coded. Bill, it's reading invoices. It's reading all of those things to say, oh, I have identified this invoice number. There's that piece of like the doing, and then there's another bucket of really taking that to the advisor level and saying, how are we now telling a story based on the financial? And so I think too often AI just gets lumped into this one
Yeah.
bucket and category, and we need to start to think about them separately. AI bucket one has really been in play for the last 10 years that people are like, I think, forget sometimes. And then there's AI over here, and we work with a lot of vendors too in their AI products. But to your point earlier, Casey, is it right? Right. And is it relevant? Well, revenue increased by, 20% from last month. Well, if that was in the forecast and they're seasonal and it should, do I care? Right? Like, it doesn't need to be something that's called out if that's what was supposed to happen. What I want to know is, are the expenses in line with the revenue increase and decrease? Did my COGS move and shift in the same manner and in the same kind of percentages as that? So it's really honing in into that AI, not just calling out like the basics.
I do want to touch on something really quick, but I do want to say to the audience, like, if you are feeling overwhelmed by AI or those negative feelings, fear, doubt, uncertainty, whatever, I'm in a we have an AI Slack channel at work, and all of our really smart engineers who are like on the forefront of AI are in there, and they'll post things from Anthropic or different things, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're posting and why it's important to me. I kind of just have to, block it out for a second because I feel that way too, and I wonder how can I use AI. My job, my day to day is very manual, very research based, very I do lots of creations of docs and meetings and communications with people, and I didn't really see the light with how AI could impact and save me time until maybe 8ish months ago, like maybe the beginning of this year. But with that, like I just want accountants to know that you don't have to figure that out. Every vendor
That's right.
is being pushed to figure it out.
Yeah.
Canopy is being pushed to figure it out.
Yeah. You have
We
to.
all have yeah,
You have to. You will not be in existence if you don't infuse
nope,
it into your base. You have to.
yeah. So it's not about learning AI. You don't need to code, you don't need to figure out how to prompt. Those things could help if you are really passionate and
That's right.
into that, do it. But if not, like just look for tools who are already building it in and
Mhm.
building it in well and in a way that is using proprietary information, contextual information that just means that the AI is going to get better and better and better based on whatever task it is that you're trying to accomplish.
I agree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well stated, Casey.
Tried to put a nice bow on that, but man, we could talk about it for a
Right.
couple more hours at
We'll have to
And
least.
I
do this
think,
again.
yeah, and people are, I love it. You summed it up so well because people are like, I'm sick of hearing about AI. I'm sick of, like, I don't want to
Yeah.
think
I
about
think
AI.
I think there's so much new AI vendors coming at cast teams that they don't know where to start and they don't want to try something that is gonna not work. And so I'd say it's okay if you're excited about it and something catches your fancy and you want to pilot it, great. But it's okay to sort of wait because Intuit is infusing AI, Intech is infusing AI, Zero is infusing AI. So the tools that you're using right now, your GL tools that you're using right now, Bill, they are bringing you AI, and so you can kind of sit and take advantage of the tools you're already using and just keep evolving as they evolve and kind of wait or not. I mean, every firm is different. If you want to pilot something, pilot it. There's some really cool stuff coming. Try it for 3 months, right? With 5, 10 clients. But don't, if you're feeling overwhelmed, I think it's okay to like say, I'm going to give it a minute and just use the tools that I'm using right now and learn what they're doing and what their roadmap is and what they're coming out with.
Awesome.
Like
Well, maybe
Canopy.
we need to yes, like Canopy. Thanks for that. I did not pay Deneen for that plug. Thank you for coming, ladies. Maybe we'll have to do a part 2 because again,
Right?
and this is so exciting. CAS is gonna change, and so like maybe even 6 months, we'd even have a wildly
I'd
different
love to.
conversation. Yeah,
Right? Exactly. I love it. Yes.
which is
Christy, thank
fun.
you. Thank you, you and Canopy for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to sit and talk with you.